this iconic TV theme, then you'll no doubt know my next guest, who plays Mike, the wonderful Finn Wolfhard, musician and actor. He also starred in Stephen King's It. He has just released his debut solo album, Happy Birthday, after setting himself a challenge to write 50 songs in a year. He's made music before, though, as you're going to hear. And when we caught up earlier, Finn did away with the niceties almost at once because he was much more interested in who the band was on my t-shirt. We were doing this on Zoom. We could see each other. And so I told him.
What's your shirt?
This is one of Scotland's greatest indie bands, Strawberry Switchblade. So they were around about the same time as Orange Juice and all the kind of postcard records. So like late 70s into early 80s.
Okay.
You would love them.
I was gonna ask that actually. What? Because the scene that Teenage Fan Club and all those guys came through, it's like, I don't want to butcher it, but it's like a letter and then two numbers.
Yep, C86.
C86, yeah.
We got it, absolutely.
I was watching footage this morning on the way here of Teenage Fan Club playing at the Reading Festival, and I was getting so excited, like in the car, like.
Oh wow,
It
yeah.
was so cool. So I'm excited to be talking to you about music and about Scotland.
I realised how quickly we were going to get to Teenage Fan Club, but I am absolutely here for it.
The first 20 seconds, yeah.
And also, I'm not massively surprised that you love them, because I can hear that love of that kind of music, very melodic, but also grungy, and also maybe quite lo-fi in so much of your music, and particularly in this new record. But I love that you knew the scene. C86, yeah, that's happening in the UK. And Bells Hill, which is where a lot of those bands came from in Glasgow, is probably about 20 minutes from where I'm sitting right now.
Oh, it's amazing.
I feel like I'm a part of it. Anyway, how are you?
Sure. I'm good. Yeah, no, yeah. I'm happy to be in London and yeah, talking.
Well, I'm happy to be seeing you, but it's not the first time I've seen you in London. Do you know why?
Why?
Because way before I loved your new record, my eldest daughter was an absolutely massive Stranger Things fan, a huge Calpurnia fan.
Oh, man.
We travelled down. I got look, this is like probably one of the best played and most copies of the vinyl. We travelled down from Scotland and we queued outside Coco from 5 a.m, my daughter and I, and we were like front and centre of that gig. And we loved it.
Such a fun gig, and that's so sweet of you guys, and I really appreciate it, because this is one of the best. It's one of the most fun gigs I think I ever played, because Coco is such an amazing venue in London where, I think they've since redone some stuff or renovated, but I just remember walking on stage and because there's like 2 or 3 balconies.
Yeah.
And I remember just looking all the way up, like literally craning my neck all the way up to the top, like looking at audience members up like above me. And I remember being, oh my God, like it was such a wild experience playing at that venue. So I'm glad you were there, and because it was a cool moment.
Yeah, it was amazing for us, I think, as well, because it was one thing to have heard the record and to have seen you on screen, but I think there's something about seeing someone up close, and we literally were. I mean,
up close and
front and center,
right in the front set. Yeah,
totally. Yeah. But you seemed so at home on stage, and perhaps more than that, you seemed so at home making music. Was that always the kind of key connector? Because even your earliest acting jobs had music entwined within them.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say so. I mean, I think that they kind of like music or just performing generally like kind of came at the same time. Mm-hmm. And I was in kind of like church band growing up, and when I was really little, like playing bass for, the parish or whatever, and in little recitals. So it was always something that I dreamed of doing, like performing for people. And then I started to kind of get more introduced into theater and the acting world, because my brother was a performer and still is a performer. And so it all kind of came at a similar time, but music specifically was really huge for me because, the first 2 jobs I ever did were music videos for independent bands from Canada. And that kind of started my love of alternative and indie music at a really young age. So I was really propelled, I think, weirdly, by those experiences as an actor. I was propelled to make music because it was inspiring to be around these young Canadian bands.
Yeah, quite. So that was that time. You were in these videos, you were starting to think about theatre and music. We talked about Calpurnia, then there's the Aubrey's, but what we have now is the first album in your own name. Was that a big step? Because I guess a band name or even a pseudonym is a little bit of a shield in some ways, right?
Oh yeah, that's exactly why I didn't want to use my name, was because there's something about, using your own name is it can be more vulnerable in some ways, because it's just, even though I made this record with so many of my friends and I was lucky enough to collaborate with so many amazing people on it, in the end it's like people are, it's your name, so it's gonna fall back on you if it doesn't work. But I am glad that I did it in the end, because it was definitely the most handmade record, at least by me, in the sense of like there's a few songs on the record that just was completely me by myself in my room or in the studio, or a lot of it was recorded to 4-track tape, which was inspired by my co-producer Kai Slater, who's in a band called Sharp Pins. He does all of his stuff on 4-track and 8-track, and then also going back to Guided by Voices and like Parsley Sound, like a lot of sort of like lo-fi UK band, or like UK inspired bands that were limited in what they could record, and in that, like, the melodies really shine through the kind of dirtiness of the recordings.
Yes.
So I've always been interested in kind of creating a balance between lo-fi and hi-fi, that I just decided to make it under my name because I didn't want to hide behind a moniker. I didn't want to hide behind a band name anymore, I guess. Although, I'm still open to doing stuff with other bands. Just, it felt like kind of the right time.
Yeah, totally. Happy Birthday is the name of the record. It's also the opening track. And I think that taps into so much of what you've just said. The sort of lo-fi feel, but also it's such a celebration of like really, really melodic pop. Mm-hmm. And as you spoke there, and we've touched on Teenage Fan Club and those UK indie bands and bands like Guided by Voices, you played a Beatles track when we saw you live in London. So did the Beatles ring true as well, not just musically, but also they had films, they were on stage, they could do comedy, they could do music. It's all there to play for, right?
Definitely, yeah. I think that was a huge part of the reason why I even got into playing music in the first place. Like most people who start playing guitar or bass or whatever it is are inspired by the Beatles. So growing up watching Hard Day's Night and Help, it was a kind of awakening of like, oh, you can, these guys are acting and they're making films, but they're also making amazing records, and like they're just doing what they want to do. They're just kind of, they can just do whatever they feel represents their music in a kind of a true way. So it was very inspiring to see at a young age, for sure.
Now, quite often when I speak to musicians or I'm working with them, they'll maybe write 16 songs for a record, they might write 20 songs for an album, and then pull them back a little bit. You set yourself a challenge that was a lot more songs than that, right? A writing challenge. How many of those songs and in what order made it to the record that we can get in our hands on gorgeous vinyl, I have to say? I'm waiting for it in the post.
It is, I think the vinyl is now out, but the demo, I maybe we'll release some of the demos one day. I think, honestly, I think every single one of the, like, basically the 9 songs that made it onto the album are the 9 songs that I felt like worked the best from those 50 songs, which is crazy to think about. But I've definitely even fished out some of the other, like little ideas and parts, even for like other songs or for the next record and stuff. So it's never a bad thing to kind of just have a lot of options, because in a few years it's like you can go back and go, okay, well, that part was kind of interesting and maybe I can build on that. But yeah, that was mostly because maybe it was an OCD thing. Maybe it was I think I hadn't been writing as frequently as I would have normally. And I think I just was like, well, if I don't give myself this, I didn't put a lot of pressure on myself, but at the same time I was like, just right. Like even if it's like a 30-second idea or 30-second riff, because something can come from it. So yeah, just kind of doing almost like a vomit draft almost of the album, where that you just kind of like everything was on the table and then kind of fixing it together, was kind of what I ended up doing with this one.
Yeah, but you've got to allow space for magic as well. You've got to allow space for the element of surprise, and whether that's connecting with people, connecting with us in Scotland, us coming down to see Calpurnia, connecting with people with the phenomenon that is Stranger Things, or connecting with people with this new record. You've got to kind of put the record out there, or the show out there, or whatever it is, the creativity, the art, and let it do its thing. Even if that's scary, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's like a lot of it is just having the, I guess, like knowing that once it's out there, you kind of you don't have a lot of control. Like you just hope that it connects with people in the way that like music that I listen to connects with me, and it becomes kind of its own animal, and starts to also means there's songs that I'm sure mean things to different people, and that's what is great about making music and releasing music. And you know, you feel a lot less, I think, alone when you have that kind of shared interest in or you know, passion about listening to music. So definitely is just important to release stuff, because you never know who it's going to affect.
I think even as a listener, I keep changing my mind about what's my favourite. So Choose the Latter, that's my favourite at the moment. It's a sunny day here in Scotland, which is quite rare, kind of rare. It fits the weather beautifully, right? Sometimes we need that, even if the lyrics are maybe undercut with a little bit of darkness or reflection, or, you know, you can wrong foot people in a brilliant way.
Yeah, I think sometimes also that's my favorite kind of songwriting, is like happy-go-lucky sort of summer feeling songs with lyrics that can be, you know, taken in more of a kind of dark way. This record, I feel like, definitely is like kind of a summer album, but I'm glad to hear that. And I'm also happy about sort of the softer songs, because I feel like that'll be a nice vibe in the winter.
Totally, yeah. And I imagine they work beautifully live. You didn't come to Scotland last time. Are you going to tour this record in Scotland? Can we see you live soon? Maybe, just even say maybe.
Maybe. Maybe. There's a real possibility here. My people will call your people, and you'll find out soon enough.
Oh, there you go. The lovely Finn Wolfhard, Mike from Stranger Things, great musician as well as band. His early band was Calpurnia. This is his first debut solo album. It's called Happy Birthday. And yeah, after we kind of like stopped the tape recorder, we had a big long chat about Strawberry Switchblade. He was away to listen to them as soon as we'd finished chatting. So who knows, maybe we'll hear a little bit of that influence in the future. In the meantime, I mentioned it was my favourite track for now from Finn Wolfhard's new album, Choose the Latter.